Hi folks, this video is on Right to Recall Party Manifestos, Chapter 40. Chapter 40 is on electoral reforms, that what are the important electoral reforms we need to improve election system in India. So there are the book you can download from rahulmehta.com 301.htm. This is the complete reference material. I'll repeat, rahulmehta.com/301.htm, and chapter 40 is on electoral reforms. There are about 19 electoral reforms I have proposed, and I'll go one by one. I'll first shortlist them. One is right to recall MP, and there are two parts. One that can be brought directly via gazette notification, that legislation is not needed, and another is right to recall MP draft, which will require amendment in People's Representation Act, and that would require legislation in Parliament. Then comes right to recall MLA, right to recall corporator, right to recall sarpanch. Then direct elections of CM, PM, sarpanch and mayor. That is one set of electoral reforms. Another is banning electronic voting machine. Then comes conducting all polls in just one day. Then simplifying election form filing. Then raising election deposit for wealthy candidates. Not all candidates, but raising election deposit for wealthy candidates. Then increasing number of citizen voters who propose a candidate on a form. Then restricting number of candidates. These are some electoral reforms related with procedure, basic procedure of candidate form filling. Then comes important change, using instant recall vote or preferential voting. Instant recall voting is also known as, instant runoff voting, IRV. I request you to Google on it or also look into Wikipedia. Instant runoff voting, and it is also called as preferential voting. And then proportionate representation in Rajya Sabha, and finally inner party democracy, and then campaign finance reforms, that is to ensure that lot of money doesn't get used or misused in in election campaigns. So first is right to recall MP. Now my assertion is that without right to recall MP, right to recall MLA, all so-called electoral reforms are useless. There is long list of electoral reforms that various parties are giving, but they oppose right to recall. Like BJP is opposing right to recall, Congress is opposing right to recall, CPM is opposing right to recall. Anna, of course, gives lips. He has always been opposing right to recall, but in April 2011, there was so much pressure from activists that he started he's saying that he supports right to recall, but he refuses to give draft. Both Anna and Arvind Gandhi, they refuse to give draft of right to recall MP, and thus they are stalling it. So for all practical purpose, they are against right to recall MP and right to recall MLA. So what is the right to recall MP procedure I am proposing? In my different videos, if you look at video 3001, I have described right to recall district education officer. In my video 0601, E0601 or H0601 in Hindi, I have described right to recall PM. So right to recall MP is on similar line except a difference. In the right to recall PM, right to recall district education officer, the procedure involves what is called as open voting, open approval filing. That when a citizen is filing approval, his approvals will come on website of collector. But in case of MP, voting has to be confidential voting, that is required by People's Representation Act. Good thing, bad thing, we can have open debate on it. I don't want to discuss that now. I want to keep things as it is and bring minimal change to have right to recall. So People's Representation Act says voting will be confidential. So I say, okay, fine, voting will be confidential. Now, given that we have confidential voting, how can we have approval filing? So for that, I'll go over the proposal. The first proposal is that elections are over, one person has been declared winner, fine. Now next law says that any person can register himself as alternative MP. That elections are over, somebody 10, 15 people, whatever they say that okay, I can be a better MP, then that person can register himself as a candidate for alternate MP. third clause says that any citizen can go to Patwari's office, give 3 rupee fee and approve at most 5 alternate person for the position of alternate MPs. So a person can, his approvals will come on collector's website. And he can go and cancel approval any day. So typical constituency, typical MP constituency has 15 lakh voter. And to become an alternate MP, person will require at least a few lakh votes. How many lakh? I'll give you the exact number later. Let us say he requires 3 lakh votes. So now if he tells people that here, okay, when I see on collector's website that you approved me, I'll give you 100 rupees. So fine, citizen will go and approve him, take the 100 rupees. Next day the citizen can cancel the approval if he does not like that particular candidate. So that way, using approval cancellation, we can ensure that MP, MLA will not be able to buy votes. So that rules out basically vote buying. Now, next clause says that, let us say there is a constituency of 15 lakh voters. That is a typical constituency in India. Let us say 8 lakh people voted. That is the normal voting, 60%. In May 2009, voting percentage was around 57-58%. So let us say 60% people voted, that is 9 lakh people voted. Generally, winner gets about 25-30% votes. Sometimes they also get more, sometimes they also get less. But generally, they get about 25-30% votes. So let us say he got 30% vote, that is about 2.7 lakh vote. So 2.7 is the number of votes that the winner candidate got. So now what right to recall procedure I have proposed says, right to recall MP procedure, that if a candidate gets 10% more approval, not vote, approval than the highest person who is MP, then there will be re-election. Recall poll. There will be recall poll. So what is 10% of total? Total voters are 15 lakh. So 10% of total is 1.5 lakh. So the person got 2.7 lakh. 10% of total is 1.5 lakh. So if a person gets approval of 4.2 lakh citizens, then there will be a recall poll. So in the recall poll, what will be the rules of recall poll? That the winner candidate will not have to file the form. He will be already a candidate in the recall poll. His number will be number 1. Next, how many candidates will be there? There will be 14 candidates. Which 14? The people who got largest number of approvals in the approval filing procedure. And the last button will be none of the above. I support right to reject. I support none of the above. That is one line reform, so I have not mentioned it in clear. I support right to reject or none of the above. Then comes in the poll, those who want existing MP to continue, they can go and click on number vote, or they don't even have to go to the polling booth. If out of the 14 candidates, if the candidate get 4.2 lakh, that is 10% more than the winner candidate votes, then existing MP will be fired, kicked out, and the most approved person will become the new MP. So that is right to recall MP procedure. Part 1 is Gazette notification. What is Gazette notification? That in the Gazette notification, the PM will request Speaker to pass a resolution in Parliament to expel him. Parliament can expel MP any day. And in the Gazette, in the legislation that I have proposed, the MP will be disqualified automatically moment Election Commission gives the result. So that is right to recall MP procedure. Now, some technicality. That will it cause instability? Answer is no. Why? Because let us say a person won by getting 3 lakh votes. Then the next person will have to get at least 4.5 lakh. And the next person will have to get 6 lakh. And the next person will have to get 7.5 lakh. So, worst case scenario is that there will be at most 3 or 4 recall poll. Now again, if you assume that a citizen will change his approval every day, then yes, there will be recall election every day, but that is a very bad assumption. I mean, why would a citizen change recall every day? One can make an assumption that, let us say 4 candidates contested A, B, C, D, and those who voted for B, C, D will call for recall. That is possible. But saying that those who voted for A, tomorrow they will go and approve B, they approved B, next day they will approve for C, that is a very bad assumption, and of course with assumption like this you can prove anything and everything. But with standard assumption that citizens are not changing their preference every now and then, it turns out that this right to recall MP procedure is stable. Furthermore, here let us say A, B, C, D were contesting election and A got 30% vote, B, C, D got 70% vote. Now, B, C, D cannot say that recall A. That is not my right to recall procedure that I have proposed. B, C, D will have to approve an alternate candidate. It could be B, C, D or E, F or anyone. Who and number of approval must be 10% of total, more than the vote that A got. So if A got 3 lakh vote and there are 15 lakh voters in that constituency, then that alternate person will have to get 4.5 lakh vote. So it is a positive recall. See again the propaganda, the argument that Subramaniam Swamy makes that right to recall causes instability is applicable only for negative recall. And even negative recall, it is not that applicable. Because people who did not vote for A does not mean that tomorrow they will say, okay, expel A. Besides, whether they say or not, the procedure that I have proposed is positive recall. Positive recalls means that citizens have to approve an alternate candidate with a number of approval much higher than the winner got, and therefore this approval is stable. Now, what is the cost estimate? The cost estimate of approval filing is 3 rupee per person, and once the system goes on ATM and SMS, it will decrease to a few paisa. So let us say all 15 lakh citizens go and file approval, then cost is 45 lakh rupees. And cost on government is 0. The people who want change have paid for the approval. And the cost of re-election is about, per MP constituency, it is about 2 crore rupee, but that is because election commission is very inefficient. See, you cannot blame recall procedures cost because of inefficiency of election commission. Election can be conducted in much lesser cost, but I don't want to discuss that. So that 2 crore is the cost of recall poll. The recall decision making procedure does not cost more than 45 lakh, and when the decision comes on ATM and SMS, it will cost only 5-10 lakh rupees. So the cost is minor issue. Even if it is 2 crore per election, the amount of damage bad MP can do on a constituency and nation is much higher. So this 2 crore of cost is also worth paid. It does not cause instability because once right to recall comes, the MP will learn to behave. He will not do corruption like this Jindal or Gadkari or I mean there are say 800 of them. I don't want to take names of all of them, but the MPs will become much less corrupt, and therefore the chances or reason why citizens will need to expel them will drastically reduce. Wherever there is right to recall in the world, stability is higher. In USA, how many governors got recalled in the entire history of its 250 years? Only 2. How many police commissioner got recalled out of some 12,000 to 14,000 police commissioner that have worked in US in past 100 years? Less than 4. Only 4. So, right to recall does not cause instability from any angle. Now, right to recall MLA. Again, state government can pass a gazette notification of right to recall MLA, and in that gazette notification they can implement this approval filing procedure, and if the approval is 10% more than the number of votes that MLA got. For example, let's say typical constituency these days is 2.5 lakh voters. So there are 2.5 lakh voters, let us say about 60% voted. So 1.5 lakh voted. Let's say winner got 35%. So say winner got 50,000 vote. So if a person gets approval of 75,000 citizens, voters, then there will be a recall poll, and the recall poll, if the person gets 75,000 votes or more, then there will be the old MLA will be expelled and the new one will come. So those who want change have to work, and those who do not want any change, they can just relax at home, they will not be disturbed. Those who want existing MLA to continue, they don't even have to go to polling booth. The existing MLAs automatically minimum of his 75,000 votes will be assumed. So that way recall does create a threat in the mind of existing MLA, and at the same time it does not cause instability. Similar is the procedure for right to recall corporator, right to recall mayor, right to recall PM, right to recall sarpanch. That I have described in chapter 6. And the video is E0601 and Hindi video is H0601. Now, direct election of PM, CM, mayor, sarpanch. We should have direct election of PM, CM, all these people. Indirect election only makes MP collect money from PM and causes corruption. Now banning EVM, the next portion of electoral reforms. I have made a video in Hindi on banning EVM and explained that how manipulation can be caused in EVM. There is a video made by Hari Prasad which explains how manipulation can be done. I request you to look at the website rahulmehta.com/evm.htm. I repeat, rahulmehta.com/evm.htm, and another is evm1.htm, both. So how EVM can be manipulated? That let us say this is EVM, then I can open the EVM and I replace the display. So suppose this is the EVM's so-called ballot unit, then I open the EVM, I replace the display and I put a new display, and then I screw the EVM back. Now no one can tell whether this EVM has been tampered with or not, because the display circuit I have changed inside. From outside it is, everything is as it was before. How easy it is? Doing it in collector's office is difficult, doing it inside the polling booth is impossible. But let us say the EVMs are manufactured in Bangalore. All EVMs are manufactured in Bangalore or Hyderabad. So I have key to the godown, warehouse, where all the EVMs are kept. So if I key to the warehouse, I go at say in the midnight with 4 or 5 people. One person can change the EVM display in about 10 minutes. So you can do the math that how many people I need to replace the display of 1 lakh EVMs. Or another method is that when EVMs are dispatched from Bangalore to, let us say, Mumbai or Ahmedabad or wherever, they give the trucking to private companies. So, or private or even government, then I have to bribe him. So I bribe that person. So now that EVM, the truck will take about 24 to 48 hours to reach Ahmedabad. For 24 hours, those EVMs are mine. I can put a man and he can replace the display of all those 500, 1000 EVM in that truck. Within 24-48 hours, he has more than enough time. Now, what is the characteristic of this new display? That let us say candidate number is assigned, voting is done. After voting, all EVMs are packed and put in the collector's office. So I can bring a van in front of collector's office. The van will send a remote control signal by radio wave. The EVM's new display will accept the radio wave, and it will decrease votes of all candidates by, let us say, 20%, and it will increase the vote of preferred candidate by 20%. And the radio signal will send both parameters. It will send percentage vote to be shifted, and it will also send candidate number which is to be favored. So what is the feature or the flaw of EVM? That within 1 second you can manipulate all 1500 EVM by just taking a van outside collector's office. You are not even coming in the physical contact. You came into physical contact 2 months, 3 months ago when the EVM was being shipped from Bangalore to Ahmedabad. I took that truck. How can I take the truck? Let us say the actual cost is turning out to be 10,000 rupees. So a genuine person will file tender of 11,000, somebody will file tender of 12,000, somebody will file tender of 11,500. I will file tender of 8,000 rupees. So I'll get the trucking contract. So now the Bangalore staff will put let us say 1,000 EVM in my truck, and now I have 50 or 48 hours to change the display of all those EVMs. So I change the display. Now I have the frequency code at which EVM is going to take the radio signal and change the votes, and that way using that, after the voting is over, I can change the votes of all the 1,500, 100,000, 1,500, 2,000 EVMs which are lying in collector's office within a fraction of a second and without coming into physical contact. Another method I have given is rahulmehta.com/evm1.pdf. That method uses some slight 5th standard mathematics, 6th standard mathematics, doesn't use very complicated math. The chip of EVM is manufactured in US. So if that chip is manufactured in my factory, then I can put a manipulating code in that EVM, and at the time of form filling, I can do a very simple manipulation that I'll put 5 dummy candidates, and then in the end I'll ask 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 candidates to withdraw. That way I control the number of candidates in the EVM, in the election, and by controlling number of candidates in the EVM, I will communicate to EVM which candidate has to be preferred in top 5, because the national political parties will get candidate in top 5. So that way, that is also one way to manipulate EVM, which I have described in rahulmehta.com/evm1.pdf. So now what this election commission people say, nonsense. What they are saying is really piece of nonsense, upstream piece of garbage. They say that EVM is saving cost, which is nonsense. They have not given any calculations to prove that EVM is saving cost. It saves paper. How much paper does it save? You do the math. One ballot paper is of this much size. On an average, there are about 18 candidates per seat. So ballot paper is twice the size of this paper. 75 crore ballot paper, if you do the math, you will figure out that that is the amount of newsprint India consumes in one day. So elections are coming once in 5 years, or if you take MLA election and all election, they are coming once in every 1.5 years. They are coming, let us say, once every year. And how much newsprints do they consume? Less than amount of newsprint consumed by newspapers in one day. If you want to save paper, I would suggest you ban Times of India. You will be saving more paper, and also you will be saving truth and sanity. That newspaper prints nothing but garbage, and all newspapers like Hindu or Indian Express, they print nothing but garbage and lies and paid news. And the amount of newsprint they consume is literally 300 to 400 times the amount of newsprint consumed in one election ballot and nationwide. So the paper argument is nonsense. This piece of paper is costing about 25 paisa. So the ballot paper is costing less than 50 paisa. Both sides, printing, if you add, let us say worst case scenario, the ballot paper is costing 1 rupee, everything, delivery, handling, everything. So how much EVM is costing? At least 10,000 rupees, and it is subsidized. Actual cost of EVM is way more than 10,000. 10,000 is the cost after subsidy. And how many elections can an EVM work for? EVM will work for at most 10 years. After that, it has to be disposed of. During 10 years, how many elections you will have? Not more than 5 or 6 or 7. So EVM is costing at least 1,500 to 2,000 per election. Paper ballot will cost no more than 1,500 per election. Finally, it comes the counting cost. That they say that more time is needed in counting ballot paper, but at the same time, when EVM is used, more time is consumed in training. It takes, in ballot paper there was virtually no training. It was just 1 or 2 hours of oral session and people, you will just read the manual. In case of EVM, the staff has to be trained. 2 to 3 people have to be trained per booth. Per EVM, 2 to 3 people have to be trained for at least 2 days. So if you include the cost of training, it is far more than cost of counting. What manipulation EVM did, Election Commission did, is that what lie they spoke is that in 1996 paper ballot were used. EVM was used only in 20-30 constituencies. Paper ballot was used. At that time, MP candidate deposit was 500 rupees. So per constituency there were 24 voters or 24 candidates. So the ballot paper was huge and it was taking a lot of time. What Election Commission did is that, or and law of Parliament both, that it was raised to 10,000 rupees. So in 1998 number of candidates decreased from 24 to 9 and counting was over in 1 day. But that is not because EVM did the magic. The magic was done by raising the deposit from 500 to 10,000. If the deposit today is made equivalent to 500 rupees of 1951, then ballot paper will become size of postcard. How big was the ballot paper in 1951? No bigger than the size of typical postcard. Why? Because the deposit was 500 rupees of 1951. That was more than bank manager's salary of State Bank of India. Back then, State Bank of India bank manager used to get salary of hardly 300 rupees. So it was twice the salary. Today's salary will be at least 60,000 rupees. So going by that scale, the election deposit, or you take any scale, you take per capita GDP, then back then it was twice the per capita GDP or maybe more. And today per capita GDP is 50,000 rupees, so election deposit by that scale should be 1 lakh rupees. Whatever logic you used, that if you raise the election deposit, the number of candidates in election will drop to about 7 or 8. And if 7-8 candidates are filing election, then the ballot paper will not be bigger than an A4 size paper, in which case counting will be over in 5-6 hours. In 1951, election counting did not take more than 4 hours per constituency on an average. Why? Because ballot paper was smaller in size. Yeah, and also there are ways by which you can put that in ballot paper in USA, for example, a person takes the ballot paper, physical paper ballot paper, he puts it under a slot and he punches the candidate number he selects. And then he pulls out the ballot paper, so he can see that one hole has been made in candidate number 3 or 4 or whichever kind, and then he puts that ballot paper in the ballot box. Now counting that ballot paper is very easy. See, this is not electronic voting machine. It is electronic counting machine which can be double checked. In variety of ways, there are manual as well as automatic ways of double checking. Then what happens is that ballot paper is very thick, postcard size paper, postcard thick or sometimes thicker than that and sturdy, so it will not bend easily. So there is a sorter, it will sort the ballot papers. So you can see that all the ballot papers have one single hole. That candidate number 3, all this particular pile has all ballot papers where candidate number 4 has been selected, and then followed by a counting. So it is called as electronic ballot counting that I support. But electronic voting machine where votes are stored in the memory and there is no human eye way to look at it, that is very prone to manipulation, which is why Japan cancelled electronic voting machine, Germany cancelled electronic voting machine, Ireland cancelled electronic voting, America, each one after another state is making law against electronic voting machine. India is one of the only, well, there are other African states too, they love electronic voting machine. African countries would love, what can be a better way to manipulate election than EVM? No guns, you don't have to send 2 criminals per booth. You just go to with a van outside collector office and with split second you can change the votes of thousands of EVM. Any country would love that. So that way, but civilized countries, Japan is still using paper ballot. Germany cancelled EVM, as I said. Most civilized countries are continuing with paper ballot or cancelling EVM one after another. Now, how can we cancel EVM? That I'll discuss it. That only way right now is to file 65 candidates. that if 65 people in a constituency decide that we want to cancel EVM, then they can go and file a nomination form. And EVM has limit, currently Indian EVM is limit that if there are 65 candidates, the collector, it is written in collector's manual, he will have to use paper ballot. It has happened in Telangana, and that is what we should be trying. Another argument that Election Commission gave is that it is easy to hijack the booth. Well, you can hijack the booth even with EVM. You have to send 2 criminals. With paper ballot also have to send 2 criminals. They say that in paper ballot you can put stamp after stamp. That really is wrong. Because below the paper ballot, the sign of presiding officer has to be there. And you can put one more procedure that ballot paper has to be stamped by an automatic stamping machine. And that stamping machine will stamp only once every 20 seconds. The only difference between ballot paper and EVM is that EVM has a 20-second gap. That between 2 votes, it will wait for at least 20 seconds. So that gap can be simulated even by saying that there will be a stamping machine in ballot booth, every booth, and the person will put the paper, it will stamp it automatically like many franking machine you could have seen, and then only ballot paper will be taken as valid. So the fact that it takes 20 seconds creates 20-second delay. And today with so many mobile phone and camera based mobile, it is not, booth capturing is not easy, and booth capturing happens because of corruption in police and judges. America has been using booths for 250 years. They hardly have any incidents of booth capturing. In their entire history, rarely they had incidents of booth capturing, like Texas had few incidents of booth capturing in the beginning when Texas was formed in year 1850. That was only for first 5 years of lawlessness time. Why? Because they use jury system to deal with electoral crimes. Here they use judges to deal with electoral crimes, and the judges are corrupt, as we all know, and therefore we have high election crimes like booth capturing. Then Election Commission gave an argument that in paper ballot there are a lot of spilling over. Spilling over will be that I vote for candidate number 1, and instead of that the stamp comes somewhere between candidate 1 and 2, so the ballot is invalidated. That problem can be reduced by making the square size bigger and the border thicker. The border should be at least half a centimeter thicker, so gap between the 2 cells should be black. The gap between 2 cells is about 0.75 centimeter. The border can be as thick as 30 millimeter. So the gap between 2 cells is now 60 millimeters, thick borders, something like this. So now the borders are so thick that chances of spilling are less, and the stamping that the person is given can be made smaller in size so that he stamps in the middle and chances of spilling over decreases. So, and yes, American system too can be used, where the person puts the ballot paper inside the punching machine. Person puts the ballot paper inside the punching machine, then he presses the button and the punching hole is made, and that makes ballot absolutely foolproof. Now yes, if the person is willingly want to waste his vote, then he will punch 2, 3, 4 button, but that is his willing choice. That is very rare case, and that is his willing choice. So there is nothing, that is not fault of the system or anything. So coming to summary, we should switch to paper ballot, and the whole debate was messed by Subramanian Swamy went to court. When would a person want to go to court? When he wants to protect a criminal. Let me put it straight. If a minister has committed a crime and you want to protect minister, then only you go to court. Because the judge will make sure that the case will go on and on and on for decades and decades and decades. If you want to punish the person, then the best way is to get right to recall, execution by majority vote, and the majority will execute him within 1 month, 15 days. Similarly, if there was a public vote, which was my proposal, I gave an advertisement in Indian Express, I'll tell you the date, July 31st, 2009. July 31st, 2009, Indian Express editor refused to take it on first page, and therefore the advertisement came on a third page or second page, in some cases third page. I had given all India advertisement, and there I said that a public vote should be taken whether EVM should be continued or not. Let every person go to Patwari's office, register yes, no, and that way he can say whether he wants EVM or not, and that way that the way should be decided. But Subramanian Swamy said no public vote should be taken, and let us go to court. Finally what court did? Court just gave a suggestion to Election Commission that please take the matter seriously. Now if Election Commission wanted to take the matter seriously, they would have done it 10 years back. We have been complaining for past 10 years that EVM can be manipulated. The first letter that I wrote to Election Commission was in 2001, where I cited many American experts saying that EVM is potentially hazardous to democracy, etc., voting, etc. And Election Commission did not even give EVM for evaluation. In America, what fortunately happened is that in America they give EVM to hacker. So the hacker were able to prove that EVM can be manipulated like this. In India, what Election Commission did is that, okay, here is the EVM, manipulate it. So I say, okay, fine, let me open the EVM, look at the circuit, that if you touch the EVM, I'll break your hand. So don't touch the EVM, now prove that EVM can be tampered with. It's like saying that let us say I put this wallet on my table, and then I tell you that it has got 5,000 rupees, it has got 10 500 rupee note, and none of the note is a fake note. So obviously you say, okay, let me look at the note, let me look it before the light, etc. And I say, if you touch this wallet or touch any of its notes, I'll break your hand. Now prove that any note in this EVM, in this wallet is fake. So that's the kind of argument Election Commission used, that they will not give any EVM for evaluation, and then they say that prove that EVM can be tampered. So anyway, engineer named Hari Prasad in Hyderabad, he got hold of some EVM somehow, he proved that it can be tampered with, so next day they threw him in prison. That you stole that EVM. Now what is this nonsense of stealing the EVM? That EVM is worth 10,000 rupees and in outside value its market is not even worth the garbage. That EVM in a garbage, if you go to some kabadi wala, garbage guy, that he will not even give you 100 rupee for that EVM. It has absolutely zero value. So who is going to steal it for what motive? But they threw him in Pune court, they dragged him to Pune court by claiming that this EVM belongs to Pune. And therefore that engineer of Hyderabad was dragged into Pune court and he was harassed endlessly. And finally he was forced to say that I support EVM with printing machine. Because so much pressure was applied on him that if you keep saying that paper ballot should be used, etc., then we will take you on remand and we will harass all your employees. Many of his employees were also harassed. So Election Commission has taken this view, whereas in Germany the court gave EVM to the hacker hacked it, and then after all the hacking argument, etc., the Supreme Court said that EVM should be discarded. Now comes the next portion of electoral reforms, preferential voting system. Preferential voting system removes the critical problem that you often see, that let us say there is BJP and Congress. So what Congress will do is that they will put a spoiler like Arvind Gandhi or Maharashtra Nirman Sena. The spoiler will get 10-15% vote or 5% vote or whatever, and as a result BJP will lose. So putting spoiler problem is removed by preferential voting system. How preferential voting system works is that there is a ballot paper like this. There can be two ballot paper design. One is horizontal, another is vertical. I have made any ballot paper design you like. Both are identical. Here there is a list of candidate, and here it is most honest, second most honest, etc. So the person says who is the most honest. Okay, person C is most honest, so he clicks here, and then person D is second most honest, so person D, so he clicks this particular cell, and like that he can give 4 or 5 options. Giving 4 options is enough. Giving 5 options is more than enough. In the ballot paper design I have proposed 4 options. One can make 5 options. That is not the point. So now how counting is done? That first the votes are made according to the first preference. So let us say 8 lakh people voted. Now if any pile gets 4 lakh votes, then that person is declared winner. If not, then the person who got the lowest number of vote, let us say X got lowest number of vote, then his first preference is cancelled. He is declared as out of the race, loser, and all his vote are reassigned as per the second preference. And then it goes on till there is only one candidate or 2 candidates left, in which case the higher one is declared as winner, or moment one person gets 4 lakh votes, that is 50% plus 1. So how the spoiler effect gets cancelled in this particular case, that let us say person says okay, I'll vote for Maharashtra Nirman Sena, then immediately we'll say well, MNS cannot win. So who should be the second preference? The second preference should be Shiv Sena or BJP. So now when voting is done, he will see that the first his vote will go in MNS pile, MNS will lose. So his pile is automatically transferred into BJP. So all MNS votes will move to BJP, and so BJP will move. I am not a fan of BJP, I am just giving you an example by the way. BJP is equally corrupt, that you can see by Gadkari case, that Gadkari is as corrupt as any minister if he is less corrupt. That is because he did not get opportunity, he was in opposition. Make him finance minister of India and any day he will become as corrupt as Pranab Mukherjee or Chidambaram or any other Congress minister. So, but as an example I was giving that similarly Congress is creating Arvind Gandhi so that he will get about 2 to 5 crore of middle class votes. So if he manages to say get about 2 crore middle class, educated middle class vote, that will decrease the BJP vote share by about 4-5%, and then BJP will lose about 30-40 seats. But if preferential voting is used, then everybody who votes for Arvind Gandhi will say, okay, well, Congress is much worse than BJP. So who should be your second preference? Let me give you second preference to BJP. So in the first round, his vote will go into Arvind Gandhi's pile. He cannot, if he wins the majority, all glory to him, but most likely he cannot get majority. So in next round, his votes will be transferred to BJP, and therefore those votes will come back to BJP, and if BJP is going to win, it will win. So that way preferential voting is a better election because it reduces the number of wasting votes. It gives more choice to the voter. The next electoral and you can further read on this in Google by instant runoff voting or IRV. Please type IRV or instant runoff voting and you will get the more information. Now proportionate representation in Rajya Sabha. Once upon a time in America, the senators were elected by MLA, and it was all bribing and money trading and everything, just like India. In India today, Rajya Sabha people become Rajya Sabha members by hook or crook or just by paying money to party leader. Like in some year 2001, I don't exactly remember, 2001 or 2, Anil Ambani gave about 12-15 crore rupees to Mulayam Yadav and Amar Singh, and he became Rajya Sabha MP. Then another executive who recently became his Reliance executive, Parimal Nathwani, he gave some 20 crore rupees to Jharkhand party leader and he became Rajya Sabha MP. And a lot of seats are purchased. One hotelier, I forgot his name, then Vijay Mallya. There is a long list of people who just buy Rajya Sabha tickets. Sometimes I say that Rajya Sabha seats should be auctioned in open so that at least that money goes to government. Because here this nefarious character like Mulayam Yadav and Amar Singh and Jharkhand party leader Munda or whosoever he is, they get all the money. So instead, why not auction the seat? That way at least government will get the money. But what people in America did is that in 1890 they changed the law. See, this is what I often request Indian activists. That when MLAs were selling votes in America, American activists did not say that we should elect good people. What they said is that we will change the law. And what is the new law they made? That citizens will directly elect the senator, that is Rajya Sabha member. Here the activists keep saying that okay, BJP is selling, Congress is selling MLA, we will elect BJP. Next day BJP will also sell MLA, so okay, we will elect Arvind Gandhi. Arvind Gandhi is also going to do the same business, he will sell MLAs, etc. So they will say, who next? Like this is basically time pass. But instead the law change I propose is that the MPs in Rajya Sabha will be elected directly by citizens. How? By proportionate representation system. That a particular party got 30% vote, he will get one Rajya Sabha MP. If there is a, let us say, 4 people have to be elected and the other party got 60%, they will have 2 Rajya Sabha MP, other party will get 1 Rajya Sabha MP and so forth. So proportionate voting in Rajya Sabha, it is what I propose as an electoral reform. Now, inner party democracy. Inner party democracy I have proposed for parties which have obtained more than 25% vote in a particular assembly or particular MP constituency. On that, inner party democracy law will apply. On a small party, there are dime a dozen who get hardly 1 or 2 or 3% vote. There is no point in applying inner party democracy because they hardly have 10, 15, 20 members. What are you going to do by applying law on those 1500 party? It is not cost effective, it is not viable. So the law I have proposed is that you can reduce the threshold from 20% to say 10% or even 5%. That is not my issue. That if a political party has obtained, let us say, 15% or 10% votes in a particular assembly segment or a parliamentary constituency, then inner party democracy will apply on that party in that particular constituency or that particular Lok Sabha constituency or assembly constituency. And what will be the rules of that inner party democracy? That the membership list the party will have to give, and that will be maintained by Election Commission. How? That if I want to become member of a particular political party, then I'll go and apply it. I'll submit my postcard size application form at Patwari's office. Patwari will enter it in computer. After that, the party's local MLA will have to approve whether I am a member or not. If he approves I am member, I am member. And automatically I lose membership of the other party. And once I remain as member for 1 year, I will automatically get voting right. So for first 1 year, a person does not have voting right, and after that 1 year he becomes voting member. In between, if he is expelled, he is expelled. So initially it will be discretion of the local MLA or local MP, but after that it won't be his discretion anymore. After that, how will the membership be decided? By the jury of the existing member. What is the jury of the existing member? That every person who was a member in that particular assembly will be taken as member. Whenever a new person applies, 12 persons will be chosen at random from the existing member list. They will be called in front of an election commission officer. They will interview him for 1 hour, 2 hours. The election commission will only supervise the interview. He will not ask any questions. And at the end, if 7 people say that he should be included as a member, he will be included as a member. Otherwise, he will not be included as a member. So the members are making members. Similarly, if a member has to be expelled, then a jury will be called. 12 citizens will be chosen at random, and out of 12, if 9 of them say he should be expelled, he will be expelled. And once the jury list is member list is finalized, then 6 months before election, the election commission will call meeting of all the members of that party, and they will do the voting on which candidate, which person will become that particular party's candidate, and that particular party's candidate will become the local MLA candidate or local MP candidate. So on the day 1, when the party is formed, it is MLA or the MP who is making the membership roster. But once he finishes the membership roster, now onwards, if that party gets 10% vote, then that particular assembly segment or Lok Sabha segment or for that particular party will be managed fully democratically by the members, not by the party members. And as I said, this cannot apply on independent because independent is independent. So, and it won't apply on new parties. In America, there is inner party democracy, but please make the distinction that inner party democracy is not compulsory on all parties. The parties have their own constitution, and the government body only enforce that they are following their constitution. Germany has very strong inner party democracy law, which is similar to what I have said but radically different. There the parties have to be democratic. They have to follow democratic norms to decide candidate, but the government make sure that they are following their constitution. And again, there also the independent, this inner party democracy is not applied on independent, and it is not applied on new parties for certain number of years, and after that it is applied. By the way, this inner party democracy that I have proposed is rejected by all party including Arvind Gandhi. They also oppose inner party democracy. They have not proposed any inner party democracy law. In the recent vision statement they gave, which they gave sometime in the month of October 2 or whatever, they say that members will decide the candidate. But when you read the actual draft, I request you to read the actual draft. It is not members, it is the committee. What he says is that people will apply that I want to become MP candidate, fine, Applications are there in Congress, BJP, every party takes application. So will members decide? The members will come in the end. First, who will do screening? A committee. Who appoints that committee? It is not specified. So obviously Arvind Gandhi will appoint the committee. See, in any party's constitution, if a power is not specified on whom it is enjoyed by, then it is enjoyed by president. Let me give you a general rule. A company can make whatever charter it likes. And it says that this particular power will be exercised by this authority. Now, if a particular power, so-called residue power, which are not specified in the list, is not told who will do that, then the power goes to shareholder. But what is shareholder? Director. Because shareholder cannot be called for every now and then. So all residual power go to directors. Likewise, in political parties, all residual power go to so-called core committee, which I call as chore committee, because almost all core committees, all parties core committee, whether it is Anna party or Arvind party or Congress or BJP or CPM, their core committees are always chore committee, the worst thief you can think of. So the chore committee or core committee will appoint one committee per constituency, and that committee will do screening out. So they will do all the screening out. So if a candidate is not convenient to multinational companies or missionaries or Navin Jindal or such people who are funding Arvind party, that candidate will be kicked out right in the round one. And finally, one or two candidate will be left. So what committee will do that? They will put one presentable person and they will put 4 or 5 dummies. So obviously when members are given a choice that do you want this presentable candidate or this one of these 2 dummies, absolute buffoons, whatever people they may be. So obviously the person will choose the presentable candidate, but the 2 or 3 very good candidate already got kicked out by the committee. That is what most committees do around the world. That when committees are given power to expel people, the committee members take bribe from Jindal or Ambani or Walmart or whosoever, and they expel all the people who are inconvenient to that particular biggie. So inner party democracy, as I have said, I have very strictly says that the member will decide and the election commission authority will call local election, and he will not call election for all parties. He will not invite members of each and every party. Only the parties who have obtained more than 20% vote in the previous election. Because for all practical purpose, if a party did not attain more than 20% vote in the previous election, then that party is very unlikely to be winner. Maybe 1 in 100 cases or 1 in 50 cases, but unlikely. So let us not go around implementing the law in each and every corner so that it becomes very cost prohibitive. What I have said that it will be applied on all national parties, all regionally recognized parties, and all parties which got more than 20% vote in the previous election. So if a party has any chance to win, then my law ensures that that particular party's candidate will be chosen democratically by the member, and the membership list will be also chosen democratically. Second, what Arvind Gandhi did not specify is that how are you going to make the membership list? Who is going to decide whether I am member or not? In this law, I decided that in the round 1, it is the sitting MLA who decides, because finally you have to allocate the authority to one person. So if he kicks out all the good people, then those good people will from day one join a different party and realize that this guy is a crook. And if he takes good people, then on the next round, those good people will have the control, the MLA will not have any control. So that way, inner party democracy, I have given the detailed draft. Arvind Gandhi refuses to give detailed draft of anything. Here also is given detailed draft. See, the reason I am criticizing Arvind Gandhi, so many times I got questioned that you don't speak against corruption of Surpankha Gandhi, I don't speak corruption of Gadkari, I speak too much against Arvind Gandhi. That is because we know that Gadkari is a deceased. Everybody knows he is a corrupt fellow. We know that Surpankha Gandhi is corrupt. She owns miles and miles of land in Delhi alone in the name of Gandhi Trust and Nehru Trust and Rajiv Trust and I forgot the name of Rajiv Gandhi's dog. There could be a trust in his name as well. And all those, she is trustee of I don't know how many trusts. And she owns miles and miles of land in Delhi alone and Bombay and everywhere. Then we also know that CPM MPs are corrupt. They take money from Saudi Arabia and let Bangladeshis come in. They took money from pharmaceutical company and passed patent law in year 2004-2005. They also passed a law by which Indian women can rent the womb renting. I request you to do Google on it. Womb renting, that law was made by Congress and CPM MPs in year 2004 and 2005. Why did they make this law? Because in West, women don't want to become pregnant. So the population there is decreasing. So what is the way out? That a white man and white woman can come to India and the sperm and egg of the original parents, white male, white female, and they can use the womb of Indian woman and pay the rent. So CPM MPs and Congress MPs got together and enacted a law by which this can be done openly and at a large scale, so that the population can decrease problem. They have population decrease problem. The West can be circumvented. And they got bribe from MNC's Western elite men for this. So we all know that these MPs are corrupt. Why I speak against Arvind Gandhi is because he is a fake doctor. See, sometimes fake doctor and fake medicine can be more dangerous than disease, because disease, you know that this guy is a disease. You know that this guy is a crook. See, sometimes corrupt policeman is more dangerous than a crook, because you know that this guy is a crook, so you are never going to go to him. But if the policeman is corrupt, he can do more damage. And same way, Arvind Gandhi is a fake doctor, phony doctor, fraud doctor, fake medicine, fraudulent medicine, and therefore it is more important that we expose Arvind Gandhi. And how am I exposing him? I am requesting you to ask him the question that give me the legislation draft which will force inner party democracy. He says that our MP will not use red light. What big deal? I can use orange light, or okay, I don't use any light, but what difference does this make? Am I becoming MP to buy that bloody red light? Criminals can use red light. There was one Pakistani national who was using red light. It is not difficult if you pay enough bribe. You can officially get red light through this channel or that channel if you are willing to pay bribe all the way. The real money in MP business is when you support a particular government or go to a particular, ask a question in parliament, you get as much as 20,000 to 50,000 rupees for asking a question in parliament. And that MP can do. Of course, you should not get caught before a camera. And what is he going to do? He says he will call Lokpal. What will Lokpal do? Expel him from the party? Better. Now he can do more business. Expel him from the parliament. Where is the law by which he can expel him from parliament? He says that he will pass right to recall law. He does not give any time frame. See, I request you to read his October 2000 vision document. He says that we will pass Jan Lokpal law in 10 days. Jindal Pal or Walmart Pal or MNC Pal. And the next statement says that we will pass right to recall law. But it does not give any time frame. 10 days, 10 years, 100 years, 1000 years. What is the time frame you are giving? Why Jan Lok Pal or Jindal Pal or Ambani Pal or Walmart Pal, whatever you call it? For that he is giving time frame that 10 दिन में Jindal का काम हो जाएगा, 10 दिन में अंबानी का काम हो जाएगा, 10 दिन में Walmart का काम हो जाएगा, 10 दिन में मशीनरियों का काम हो जाएगा. और जब लोगों की when it comes to giving right to recall power to people, he gives an empty promise with no time frame. So he has been consistently opposing inner party democracy, and all political parties are opposing. We at Right to Recall Group are the only party who are proposing right to recall, inner party democracy, and Right to Recall party will also have right to recall party president. Arvind Gandhi's party does not have right to recall party president, not so far. Let me see if they put it in later. Finally comes campaign reforms. Campaign reforms, very simple. If there is right to recall, then people will not spend crores of rupees. They are spending crores of rupees because they can remain MP for 5 years and recover the money and 5 times. But if a person can be kicked out within 2-3 months, nobody will spend 5 to 10 crore of money. So these are the reforms I propose. And another reform that I have proposed is that narco test of candidates. That any candidate who is willing to give his narco test before election commission, then election commission will have his own officer and ask selected question, and election commission's officer, appointed officer, could be collector or deputy collector, will also randomly call 30 citizens, divide them into 2 groups of 15. One group will prepare the question and another group will say whether this question should be asked or not. So 15 group any person will say any question he likes, that ask this question. And the other 15, they will say, okay, ask this question. If 8 of them say ask this question, that question will be asked. So that way, randomly chosen citizens, jury, is taking narco test of that candidate, of course, if that candidate is willing to agree, but here is the caveat. If a candidate says that, no, don't take my narco test, then that itself speaks volumes about him. For example, I am openly telling Election Commission, I am going to give a newspaper advertisement, I am contesting this December 2012 election. I am openly going to tell Election Commission that I am requesting you and I am insisting you to take my narco test in public. See, again in public, narco test in confidential has no value. Because you can take my narco test, ask me some stupid questions, confusing questions, record the session and then edit the session, remove 30 seconds here or there, put 30 seconds and then they can cook up any story they like. But what I would say is that you can take my narco test in public and that will prove why I want to become MP. First thing they can ask is that, are you becoming MP to cut anybody's vote? Are you become MP so that you can collect bribe after getting election? Are you contesting election just because you are name hungry or power hungry or whatever? Have you taken any bribe? Have you taken any money from anyone to stand in the election? How much black money you have taken from any industrialist? Have you asked any industrialist to give money to any media or TV channel to contest to give you publicity to you? All these questions Election Commission can ask and that person will answer after sodium panthenol is injected in public. So that way, with narco test in public of candidate who has willingly approved, that will reveal lot of information, and those who refuse to give narco test will automatically be telling a lot about them. Thank you.